Chapter 15. She obeyed him. She went home and telephoned a taxi to take her to the airport. She carried her suitcases downstairs, knocked on Leslie's door for the key to the basement to store the boxes she was not taking with her. The taxi ride to the airport was slow, but the traffic was moving, not at a standstill as it had been earlier in the day. At the airport, they put her on a waiting list. The morning flights to London had been delayed and there was a backlog of people waiting, but one seat to London, either Heathrow or Gatwick. She stood a good chance, they said, of leaving before tonight. It was a plush, clean airport, crowded today with oilmen on their way to Shetland, women with small children, men in business suits. Summer's eyes missed nothing. She could see everything, register everything. Her mind would not think, would not dwell or settle or anything. Just her vision, so much to look at, everything gritty bright. Airport shops, sweets for Amir, something Scottish for Hanan. Hunger, acute hunger. A long queue at the cafeteria. Vegetable lasagna, very good. A lot of gooey cheese, white sauce, chocolate cake, cappuccino. Going to the toilet, her face in the mirror not pleasing. But there was no surprise in that. Wash your hands. I don't like the smell of this soap. Press a knob and warm air rushes out. Modern technology. She sat on a green seat reading the information on the screen. Arrivals, departures, reading it again and again. Feeling the sun outside the window wane. Time to pray and the sadness that there was nowhere to pray in the airport. If she stood up and prayed in the corner, people would have fit. A story once told by Yasmin. Turks in London praying in Terminal 1 and someone called the police. Summer prayed where she was, sitting down, not moving. In a few hours she would leave. Get away, get away, get out of here. The clock on the wall, 24 hours ago, she did not even know that Ray's uncle had died. 24 hours ago, enough to break the mind. Don't think. Just look around, open your eyes wide. Time to board. The early darkness of winter, outside the double glazing of the terminal, freezing gusts of air. Walking up the metal steps to the airplane, smiling stewardesses, too much makeup, handing her the evening paper. Navy seats, the characteristic smell of airplanes, the fumble with overhead lockers. Fasten seatbelts. British Airways policy of no smoking on its domestic flights. On the front page of the paper, a picture of the hijacked airplane on the tarmac at Cyprus. Today's date written on the paper. Today, Thursday. Tomorrow was the day she was meant to leave. Just tomorrow. There was really no drama in this flight. No one will notice that she had gone. She had wasted her money on an airplane ticket, wasted the train ticket she had for tomorrow. But he had said, get away, get out of here. Takeoff, the roar of takeoff, the running leap into the air. The airplane rose up over the city. In the twilight, the world below was splashed with snow. Summer looked out of the window and saw miniature houses, cars, and trees. The pale, frothy sea. Small, compact city that belittled her hope. Part 2. The fog cleared, and I awoke on the second day of my arrival in my familiar bed in the room whose walls had witnessed the trivial incidents of my life in childhood and the onset of adolescence. I heard the cooing of the turtle dove, and I looked through the window at the palm tree standing in the courtyard of our house. I looked at its strong, straight trunk, at its roots that strike down to the ground, at the green branches hanging down loosely over its top, and I experienced a feeling of assurance. I felt not like a storm-swept feather, but like that palm tree being a bean with a background, with roots. Tayyip Saleh, 1969. Chapter 16. She wore sunglasses now. They darkened the blue of the sky, the building that had sprung up in the once empty square in front of her aunt's house. A cooperative which in working hours filled the road with noise and parked cars. Her glasses tinted, the garden blue, its patches of dry yellow, the Disney characters on the children's paddling pool. She had straightened up the sides of the pool and put it in the shade, filled it with water that gushed from the hosepipe hot. 2 hours before sunset, and the sun was a spot of blue heat, still too piercing for eyes that had seen fog and snow. Summer sat on the porch near the old cactus, plants in their clay pots, bougainvillea in dimpled mud. Children's voices and laughter, the sight of them. They were in their underwear, Amir's pants sagging with water, dahlias white, clinging and transparent, and the twins, Hassan and Hussein, in striped red and green. They had soaked the grass around the pool, and it was now mud and slush, flat in the shade of the eucalyptus tree. Behind Summer, the house was sleeping, hummed by fans and air coolers. Siesta before sunset and the time for praying and tea. Going out or visitors parking their cars on the pavement outside. Her aunt's house was a busy house, a lot of coming and going, snapping open the tops of Miranda bottles, boiling water for tea. Special trays for guests and an elegant sugar bowl. Hanan lived on the top floor with her husband and 4 children. Summer had known Dahlia, who was the same age as Amir, but she had seen the 2-year-old twins only in photographs. And of course, the baby was new, asleep now with Mahsan downstairs. Summer sat on the porch and there was no breeze, no moisture in the air. All was heat, dryness, desert dust. Her bones were content with that, supple again, young. They had forgotten how they used to be clenched. Her skin too had darkened from the sun, cleared and forgotten, wool and gloves. She waited for everything else to forget. The inside of her and her eyes. Her eyes had let her down. They were not as strong as they had been in the past, not as strong as the eyes of those who had not traveled the north. She must yield them with the blue lenses and wait for them to forget like her bones had forgotten and her skin. She wanted to pick up life here again. People smile when I come into a room, and this tree is for me. This scrawny garden, this sun, these children are all mine, the one I carried inside me and the ones I did not. No one will tell me to get out of here, get away from me. Summer, Summer. It was a neighbor's daughter calling from across the wall. Summer walked across the porch, down the steps toward the carport. There was a tap and a sink on the floor with a raised cement edge. Standing on it, she could talk to Nahla, who was standing on the arms of a chair. 2 days ago, in this same position, Nahla had lost her balance and fallen. She was undeterred though, and now shook hands with Summer and kissed her over the wall. If you fall again, you'll break and be in bandages at the wedding. Nahla was getting married next month. She was beautiful, with dimples and dark-colored veils that never slipped off her hair, rectangular gauze falling at each side of her face, balancing somehow without the aid of a pin or a brooch. I'm not going to fall off. Last time I had these stupid sandals on and they made me slip. What are you wearing now? I am barefooted. Bring the children and come over. I can't. They're swimming. Where? I got them this paddling pool when I came. Aunt Mahasan wanted me to get rollerblades for Amir, but I got the pool instead. I've been here a month and only got round to filling it for them today. Come and see them. They look nice. In a few minutes, Nahla was admiring the padding pool. She took off her sandals, lifted her skirt, and waded in, adding to the children's excitement. Amir leaned on the side, and the water started spilling out. Stop it, Amir. You're getting rid of all of the water. Nahla took hold of his arms and pulled him, but he wriggled free, his ribs showing and his knees covered with scars from cuts and mosquito bites. Summer got the hose to add to the water in the pool. She sprayed Amir and Dahlia, and they squealed and ran out of the pool across the garden, the ribbon in Dahlia's hair wet and falling over her shoulders. Hassan got water on his face and he started to splutter and gasp, his wet curls covering his brow. "I'm sorry, my love." Summer put the hose down and wiped his bewildered face. He wasn't crying, and soon went back to his game of filling a cup with water and pouring it over the side of the pool. "Summer, come in. The water's nice. I don't feel so hot now." "No, I'm too old." She smiled and turned to spray the dust off the jasmine bushes that lined the border of the garden. "You're not old," said Nahla. "Haven't you seen Hanan?" Nahla puffed out her cheeks and did an exaggerated waddle from one side of the pool to the other. Summer laughed, looking to check that Dahlia hadn't noticed they were speaking about her mother. It was true, though. Hanan did look matronly and walked as if she was still pregnant. "It's just because of the baby," she said, putting down the hose to water the flower beds. "She'll become slim soon, especially now she's back to work." Hanan was a dentist. "She was like that even before the baby. You didn't see her." "No, you look years younger than her." Summer took off her glasses. The sunlight was startling white, ruthless. She wiped water off the lenses with the hem of her blouse. Compliments on her looks hardened her inside. What was the use? "How's your mother now?" she asked. Nahla's mother was ill with malaria. Yesterday, Summer and Mahassan had gone to visit her. "Alhamdulillah, she's up today. Lots better. But I'm afraid all the preparations for the wedding will tire her." She kicked the water, made little waves. "Our luck isn't very good." "Why not?" "The Syrian club is booked on the day we want." "Try another club." "The Syrian is the best, so we might change the date." Nahla bent down and started playing with twins' cups and beakers, showing them how to pour from one to the other. "I haven't been to a wedding for ages," said Summer. "Yours will be the first." "Didn't you go to weddings in Scotland?" "No." Nahla looked at her with wide, kohl-rimmed eyes. "Why not?" "I didn't know many people there. Sometimes I saw wedding couples outside churches having their photographs taken. They don't get married like us at home. They get married in church or—" "Yes, I have seen them in films." Nahla didn't seem interested in how people got married in other parts of the world. "I hope your Aunt Mahassan will come to my wedding." "I don't know. Has she been to weddings?" "No, not since Tariq." Nahla paused. "Allah have mercy on him." "Allah have mercy on him," Summer repeated. "Even if Aunt Mahassan doesn't go to the party at the club, she'll come to the Agid at your house." Nahla stepped out of the pool, splashing her sandals with water. Pretty ankles, painted toenails, all the preparations for a bride. Summer was like that once, years ago before Scotland, before Tariq died. Here in this house, in this language and this place were all the memories, all that had been taken away from her. A photograph of Tariq when she had walked into the house for the first time, smiling, sitting back in a chair, at ease with everything, so young and confident compared to her. He did not know her anymore. The young man in the photograph did not know the Summer who had lived alone in Aberdeen. The photograph made her cry, tears coming from the fatigue of the journey, the strain of the past weeks in Egypt, the excitement of seeing Amir again, and he so cool, accepting her hugs and kisses as he would from the many visitors and relations who crossed his life. When she cried, her aunt and Hanan started to cry. Hanan feeding the baby, sniffing into a tissue. Mahasan still and straight backed, her tears falling without her face crumpling, without the indignity of sobbing. Only after they had cried together did the awkwardness of their meeting begin to break. The years she was away. Only then was it as if reaffirmed that she was who she was, Amir's mother, Tariq's widow, coming home. She walked to the gate. Then it was time to get the children out of the pool, take them indoors, give them showers. The bathroom was so hot that she dripped with sweat while they dripped with water, soap and squeals. "You put soap in my eyes." Screams, guilt, Hassan's bloodshot, accusing eye, his slippery arm beating against her skirt. Bad summer, ugly summer. Talcum powder and fresh clothes. "I'm not wearing this." Dahlia folded her arms across her chest with all the authority of her mother. "Why not? It's lovely. This is a lovely rabbit." "It's ugly." "Amir, do you think it's ugly?" "No." "See, Amir thinks it's lovely, and Mama, when she wakes up, will think it's lovely, and Grandma Mahsan." "I want to wear the red one." "The red one is in the washing. It's dirty." "I want the red one." "You can't wear the red shirt. Wear the rabbit one, and I'll take you out with me and Amir this evening." "Where are you going?" Summer pulled a rabbit t-shirt over Dahlia's head. There was no resistance. The child pushed her arms through the sleeves and looked at Summer expectantly. "We're going to Uncle Walid's house." Dahlia frowned. She could not remember who Uncle Walid was. "My brother," said Summer. "Remember, they have a balcony with birds in a cage." She smoothed Dahlia's eyebrows, ruffled by water, and the neck of the t-shirt. "Let's get out of this heat," she said, and pulled the bathroom door open, glad to get out of the stuffiness into the coolness of the hall. The hall led to the sitting room where the television and the big air cooler was. There was 2 beds along the wall and 3 old armchairs. There were stools for the children to sit on and a low circular coffee table made of light wood, which wobbled and swayed but still served as a dinner table, and for the homework Amir and Dahlia did every afternoon. The houses had another sitting room, the salon, as everyone called it. It was for formal guests, a lifeless room, not for everyday use. Summer had received some of her friends there when they had come to welcome her back. She had sat with them, conscious of a wedding photograph of her and Tariq. She as a bride, looking ignorant and young. "Don't you think it is better to take down that photograph from the salon?" She had asked her aunt and was answered with a look of suspicion, a quick no. And Ibn Hassan must have complained to Hanan, for the next day Hanan said, "My mother still can't get over it. Summer, please, for Allah's sake, don't annoy her. He was her only son." Her only son. It was like that from the day she had brought Tariq home, carried in an airplane, in a box. Her only son. The words on everyone's lips said in disbelief, "Mahassan's son died. Mahassan's son died." Her only son. He left an orphan. Poor orphan. My heart is breaking over this orphan boy. My heart is breaking over Mahassan, her only son. It was like that from the day Summer brought Tariq home from Aberdeen, and she, the one who was carrying failure, her life ripped, totally changed, losing aim, losing focus, while Mahassan and Hanan went on as before, and Amir could not miss the father he could not remember. In the sitting room, her aunt was awake, but the baby was still asleep on the bed between the wall and Mahassan's back. In spite of the grief that had aged her aunt's face, there was still an elegance about her, something refined in the way she sat and the way she talked. She was watching a video with the children. A cat chased a mouse on the screen, forever frustrated, forever unfulfilled. Summer greeted her aunt and sat on one of the stools to comb Dahlia's hair. If she didn't comb it and braid it now while it was wet, it would frizz up and be impossible to untangle. The wide-toothed comb was slippery in her hands. "Ow!" said Dahlia, her concentration still on the screen. "Sorry, pretty one. I am nearly finished. Do you want 2 braids or 1? 2, Mahassan said. 2 suits her better. Tighten them. Last time you made them too loose and they didn't last." Summer nodded, parted Dahlia's hair in the middle and started to braid it. She could feel her aunt watching her if she turned away now from Dahlia's hair and looked up at her aunt. She would meet her eyes, see the expression on them, something like disappointment or disapproval, a kind of contempt. Many times when she met her aunt's eyes, she found that contempt when once years ago there was approval and love. "I love your mother more than I love you," she used to tease Tariq years ago. Another time before the lines of defeat on Mahassan's face, her faded eyes. Summer concentrated on Dahlia's hair and did not look up at her aunt. Even though the air cooler was blown, she still felt hot. She lifted her arm and with the sleeve of her blouse wiped the sweat that fell over her forehead. "Why are you so disheveled today?" Her aunt's voice different than the chatter and music of the cartoon show. "I was with the children in the garden. They played with the pool. Nahla came over. Politeness required that she looked up. She lowered her eyes again. Inshallah, they're not going to have the wedding party in the house. Loud music and crowding the whole street." "No, she told me they're booking the Syrian club." She was going to add that Nahla was hoping Mahassan would attend but decided against it. "I have no appetite for weddings or parties," her aunt said as if she could read her mind. "From the day they buried the deceased, I have no appetite for such things. Hanan goes, reluctantly, but it's her duty to go. It's expected of her." "Yes," said Summer. She did not like her aunt saying the deceased, never referring to Tariq by his name. It made him sound as if he was old when in reality he was young, forever young. Nor did she believe that Hanan went to parties reluctantly. But she kept silent as she finished Dahlia's hair and did not contradict her aunt, did not look up. Over the hum of the air cooler, over the music of the cartoon show, she heard from a distance the sunset azan. She had missed it in Aberdeen, felt its absence, sometimes fancied she heard it in the rumble of the central heating pipes, in a sound coming from a neighboring flat. It now came as a relief, the reminder that there was something bigger than all this, above everything. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. She went to make wudu and had to tidy the bathroom first because the children had splashed the walls with water, thrown towels and wet clothes on the floor. In the bedroom, she put on the ceiling fan and picked up the prayer mat that lay folded on her aunt's bed. Summer's clothes and belongings were in a separate room which had locked cupboards and crates of Miranda, sacks of sugar and rice, but she slept in this room with her aunt and Amir. Electricity was too expensive to keep more than one air cooler going throughout the night. That was why she had to share the room, share the one air cooler. Sometimes there were power cuts during the night and the sudden silence of the air cooler would wake Summer up. She would turn its switch to off because sometimes the surge of the power coming back was too strong and likely to damage the motor. Sometimes she fell asleep again in the remaining coolness of the room, but minutes later the heat would wake her up. She would open all the windows, but sometimes not even a breeze would enter the stifling room. Amir would toss and push the cover away from him. Her aunt would sit up and lean against the wall, sighing curses at the government, the electricity company, life itself. And Summer would get up and go outside, pace up and down the starlit porch, unsteady from lack of sleep, stunned by the laden sky. In the past, everyone had slept outdoors, on the roof, wide open space, a freshness even on the hottest nights. But Hanan had built her flat on the roof. No one summer, she said, sleeps outdoors anymore because of mosquitoes bred by open drains and fumes of diesel rising during power cuts from bright houses that could afford generators. After she prayed, she went out to the garden. It was different without the children, and she did not need her sunglasses now. She could have all the colors that she had missed in Aberdeen, yellow and brown and everything else vivid. Flat land and a peaceful emptiness, a space, no gray, no wind, no lines of granite. The sun had rimmed the houses down the road and left behind layers of pink and orange. In the east there was the confident blue of night, a flimsy moon, 1, 2, now 3 stars. Still the birds rushed to the trees, screeching, rustling the leaves, noisier than the children had been earlier on. On the other side of the road, the night watchman of the cooperative was serving his friends tea. They sat on the pavement on a large palm fiber mat, prayer beads and laughter. Coals glowed, a kettle of water boiled and let off steam in the twilight. Her homesickness was cured, her eyes cooled by what she saw, the colors, and how the sky was so much bigger than the world below, transparent. She heard the sound of a bell as the single silly light of a bicycle lamp jerked down the pitted road. A cat cried out like a baby, and everything without the wind had a smell. Sand and jasmine bushes, torn eucalyptus leaves,